Leon Kennedy is one of the most iconic characters in gaming, and there's a very good reason for that. His story spans decades of bioterrorism, government conspiracies, and enough trauma to fill a psychology textbook. So today, I'm breaking down his entire story from beginning to end, starting with the worst first day of work in video game history, Resident Evil 2. Leon Scott Kennedy shows up to Raccoon City on September 29th, 1998, hungover, late, and emotionally destroyed, the night before he got dumped by his girlfriend, drank himself unconscious at a motel, and woke up on the afternoon of what was supposed to be his very first day as a rookie police officer. So already, before a single zombie enters the picture, this man is a disaster, which is, not ideal. Here's the thing. The writers originally designed Leon as a veteran cop, experienced, capable, someone who could handle himself, but they scrapped that entirely and made him a clueless rookie on purpose, because they wanted the player to feel genuinely vulnerable. They wanted the horror to actually land, and it works because Leon has zero idea what he's walking into. The city is already gone by the time he arrives. The T-Virus, a biological weapon cooked up by the Umbrella Corporation, has turned the entire population into the undead, and the outbreak wasn't even an accident. It happened because of corporate infighting between Umbrella USA and a virologist named William Birkin, who were fighting over ownership of the more advanced G-Virus, like two kids pulling apart a toy, except the toy was a world-ending bioweapon. Cool. That's also a thing that happened. Leon meets Claire Redfield at the edge of the city, and the two of them fight their way toward the police station together. It's going about as well as you'd expect, until a wall of zombies separates them, leaving Leon completely alone inside the RPD building. And that's where things get complicated. He runs into Ada Wong, a woman who claims she's looking for her missing boyfriend. Spoiler, she's not. Ada is a corporate spy conducting industrial espionage to steal the G-Virus sample for a rival company. Leon also meets a journalist named Ben Bertolucci, who drops a bombshell that Umbrella had the local police force in their pocket the entire time. So the one institution Leon just signed up to be part of was already corrupted from the inside. Great, add that to the list. The climax is pure nightmare fuel. William Birkin, desperate to keep his research, injected himself with the G-Virus and mutated into a massive, barely recognizable creature that Leon has to fight while the underground nest facility is literally self-destructing around him. On top of that, there's a T-103 Tyrant, an 8-foot-tall super soldier in a trench coat, just casually trying to crush him to death in the hallways. All of this on day one, before he's even filed any paperwork. Leon survives. Barely, but the psychological damage is permanent. He develops textbook avoidance behaviors after Raccoon City, refusing to talk about what happened, shutting down conversations about it entirely, and the worst part is the pattern it establishes. Everything Leon tried to control that night fell apart. People he tried to save died anyway. The institutions he trusted were rotten, and that feeling of helplessness, that sense that nothing he does actually matters, never fully goes away. Every single version of Leon Kennedy that comes after this night is a direct response to the trauma of these 24 hours. But if Raccoon City broke him, what came next rebuilt him into something else entirely. Resident Evil 4, 6 years. That's all it took for Leon Kennedy to go from a hungover rookie who could barely survive a night in Raccoon City to a government-trained killing machine with biceps the size of small children. The slim, terrified kid from 1998 is gone. In his place is a special agent who looks like he was built in a lab specifically to roundhouse kick cult members in the face. The US government scooped Leon up after Raccoon City, and whatever training program they put him through, it worked. Maybe a little too well, because when the president's daughter, Ashley Graham, gets kidnapped and taken to a remote village in rural Spain, Leon gets sent alone, into cult territory, like that's a normal Tuesday. The village is controlled by Los Illuminados, a religious cult led by Osman Sadler, a man whose hobbies include bioweapons research and being the worst person alive. Sadler's weapon of choice is Las Plagas, a mind-controlling parasite that turns local villagers into violent, obedient puppets. His endgame? Weaponize the parasites for global conquest. Standard cult leader ambitions. Here's where it gets complicated. Both Ashley and Leon get infected with the Plaga parasite during the mission. So now Leon isn't just fighting an army of mind-controlled villagers and a megalomaniac cult leader. He's fighting a biological countdown inside his own body. Every second he spends cracking skulls is a second closer to losing his mind entirely, which is not ideal, but the way he handles it tells you everything about who Leon has become. In Raccoon City, he scraped by on pure survival instinct. In Spain, he dispatches enemies like he's cracking open eggs for breakfast. Roundhouse kicks, suplexes, knife throws with pinpoint accuracy. The combat style isn't desperate anymore. It's efficient, almost casual. He fights like a man who's been doing this his entire life, not someone who learned what a zombie was 6 years ago. And the personality shift is just as dramatic. Leon has adopted this cocky, wisecracking persona ripped straight out of a bad 1980s action movie. He's flirting with Ashley. He's flirting with his handler Hunnigan over comms. He's dropping one-liners while surrounded by parasite-infected villagers trying to cave his skull in. It's entertaining as hell, but there's something underneath it. The humor feels less like confidence and more like armor. Like if he stops joking for even a second, everything from Raccoon City might actually catch up to him. The one moment where Leon's guard genuinely drops is with Luis Serra. Luis is a Spanish biologist who used to work for the cult before realizing that helping a parasite-wielding maniac achieve world domination wasn't a great career move. He defects, helps Leon, and the two develop a real friendship. Not a mission partnership, an actual bond. So when Sadler kills Luis, Leon doesn't crack a joke. He doesn't deliver a one-liner. He's just sad, genuinely, visibly sad. It's one of the few times you see the real Leon underneath the action hero exterior. The mission ends with Leon and Ashley using specialized radiation devices to extract the parasites before the infection becomes permanent. Then comes the final fight against Sadler himself, a grotesque mutated nightmare that pushes Leon to his absolute limit. And just when things look their worst, Ada Wong shows up with a rocket launcher, because of course she does. Leon kills Sadler, escapes the collapsing island with Ashley, and rides off into the sunset on a jet ski. Mission complete. The president's daughter is safe, the cult is destroyed, and Leon Kennedy has officially cemented himself as one of the most capable agents on the planet. But that cocky grin he's wearing, it might be hiding more than he'd ever admit, and the cracks in that armor were about to get a lot harder to ignore. Resident Evil, Degeneration, late 2005. Leon gets called to Harvardville Airport because somebody decided to release the T-virus in a crowded terminal. And if you're thinking, hasn't this guy been through enough? The answer is no. Apparently not, because this time, the universe decided to add a zombie outbreak in a packed civilian airport, a dead SRT member, and a corporate conspiracy so cynical, it makes Umbrella look like amateurs. The man behind the attack is Dr. Curtis Miller, a former Will Pharma researcher who lost his family in Raccoon City and has spent the years since trying to force the government to publicly admit what it knew about Umbrella's bioweapons program. His methods are extreme. His motivations are, honestly, kind of understandable. He watched his government cover up the deaths of thousands of people and then pretend it never happened. So he unleashes the T-virus at an airport to make a point. But here's where it gets complicated. Curtis isn't the real mastermind. He's a pawn. The actual architect is Frederick Downing, a Will Pharma researcher who engineered the entire incident as a live sales demonstration. He released a bioweapon in a public airport to show black market buyers that his company's T-vaccine actually works. He's selling the virus and the cure as a package deal. It's the most evil business model since whoever invented printer ink cartridges. The real gut punch of this mission isn't the conspiracy, though. It's who Leon finds at the airport, Claire Redfield, the same Claire he escaped Raccoon City with 7 years earlier. This isn't some heartwarming reunion over coffee. This is two trauma survivors getting dragged back into the exact same nightmare they thought they escaped. Different city, same zombies, same corporate greed, same government pretending it has clean hands. The thing they survived in 1998 didn't end. It just changed its address. Greg Glenn, one of the special response team members working alongside Leon, gets infected during the mission. But Leon doesn't get the luxury of processing it because the outbreak doesn't pause for grief. He has to keep pushing through a terminal full of reanimated civilians, people who were catching flights and buying overpriced coffee hours earlier, which is, not ideal. He completes the mission, Downing gets exposed, Curtis injects himself with the G-virus, mutates into a monster, and dies in the resulting explosion at the Will Pharma facility. The outbreak is contained. On paper, it's a win. But civilians are still dead, his team took losses, and the government's involvement with bioweapons research remains buried under classification. Leon did everything right, and it still wasn't enough. The aftermath is where the real weight settles. He's now got Raccoon City, Spain, and this stacked on top of each other, each one reinforcing the same lesson. The system doesn't care. You can save the day, and the people responsible for creating the problem will just find a new way to profit from it tomorrow. Here's the thing about degeneration that makes it so important to Leon's story. It's the mission where the action hero mask starts cracking. In Spain, he was cracking jokes and doing roundhouse kicks. He looked invincible, but Harvardville strips that away. You can be the most skilled operative on the planet, and it doesn't matter when the systems above you are rotten. The government he serves helped create the problem he keeps getting sent to clean up. The corporations he takes down get replaced by new ones running the same playbook. Every mission is a victory that changes nothing. Psychologically, this is where the pattern becomes undeniable. The repeated exposure to biological horror, the loss of people around him, the institutional betrayal, all of it accumulates into something heavy. Not the kind of trauma from a single bad day, but the kind that develops from prolonged, repeated exposure where the individual feels fundamentally trapped. Leon can kill any monster in front of him. He cannot fix the world that keeps making them. And that's the cruel irony of being Leon Kennedy. The better he gets at his job, the less it seems to matter. But if you think a bioweapons conspiracy hiding behind a pharmaceutical company is the most cynical thing Leon can uncover, wait until the conspiracy is hiding behind the White House itself. Resident Evil, Infinite Darkness, zombies in the White House. That's not a metaphor. That's literally what happens. In 2006, Leon is ordered to investigate a hacking incident at the White House, which sounds like a Tuesday for a government cybersecurity team, and absolutely not something you'd send a bioweapons specialist to handle. But the moment the power goes out, the real reason Leon's there becomes painfully clear. The facility is under attack by actual zombies, and suddenly, his particular skill set makes a lot more sense. During the chaos, Leon rescues a rookie Secret Service agent named Patrick, because of course he does. It doesn't matter if Leon's in a Spanish village, an Eastern European war zone, or the most heavily guarded building on Earth. He will find the one person who's in over their head and drag them to safety. It's practically a reflex at this point, but here's where it gets complicated. Leon isn't the only familiar face caught up in this mess. Claire Redfield resurfaces, and she's been pulling on a completely different thread. While working a TerraSave welfare mission in Penamstan, a fictional South Asian republic, Claire discovered disturbing drawings made by a child refugee. The kind of drawings that don't come from imagination, they come from memory. Her independent investigation eventually collides with Leon's, and what they uncover together is significantly worse than zombies in the basement. The conspiracy runs deep. Turns out during the 1990s, the United States government learned that China was developing bioweapons, and instead of, say, addressing that through diplomacy or international pressure, certain American governmental entities decided the correct response was to launch their own covert bioweapons research programs, which is, not ideal. Here's the kicker. The entire White House incident isn't really about zombies at all. It's about suppressing classified information. Specifically, information about U.S. involvement in the Raccoon City incident and the bioweapons research that followed. The government Leon works for, the one that signs his checks and sends him into these nightmares, is actively covering up the exact truth he needs exposed. Every zombie he's ever killed, every outbreak he's ever survived, and the institution behind him has been complicit the entire time. This is the moment Leon's worldview starts cracking. Fighting Umbrella was straightforward. Evil corporation does evil things. Fighting a cult in Spain was violent but simple. Crazy parasite man wants to control the world. But this is the government. His government. The people who trained him, deployed him, and built his entire career are the same people burying evidence of biological terrorism to protect their own secrets. Leon and Claire are consumed by this conspiracy, and it forces both of them into an incredibly uncomfortable position. They've spent years fighting bioterrorism on behalf of institutions that are fundamentally compromised by the same thread. Claire's working for TerraSave, an organization that exists because governments failed to prevent Raccoon City. Leon's working directly for the people who helped cause it. The betrayal isn't abstract, it's personal, it's professional. It's the foundation of everything Leon has built since 1998, crumbling under his feet. And the worst part? There's no clean resolution, no dramatic courtroom scene where the truth comes out and justice prevails. The conspiracy gets buried, the powerful stay powerful. Leon walks away knowing exactly what his government is capable of, and he keeps working for them anyway, because what else is he going to do? But if you think discovering your government's dirty secrets is the darkest corner of this job, wait until Leon gets sent into a country where every single faction is compromised, the monsters are being used as weapons, and there's no clean side to stand on. Resident Evil. Damnation. In 2011, Leon gets deployed to the Eastern Slav Republic, a former Soviet nation tearing itself apart in a civil war. His mission is straightforward on paper: confirm whether bioorganic weapons are being used in the conflict. Simple recon. Get in, verify, get out. But here's the thing, nothing about this mission is simple, and nothing about it is clean. Unlike Spain, where Leon had a clear enemy in Los Iluminados and a clear objective in rescuing Ashley, the Eastern Slav Republic offers him zero moral clarity. Every single faction in this conflict is compromised. The rebels are using bioweapons. The government is orchestrating attacks against its own people. And the international powers circling overhead aren't interested in justice. They're interested in outcomes, which is, not ideal. Leon links up with a group of rebel fighters, including a man named Buddy, real name Alexander Kozachenko. These aren't terrorists. They're desperate people trying to resist an oppressive government using the only tools available to them. And those tools happen to be Plaga parasites, the exact same organism Leon fought in rural Spain just a few years earlier, the same parasite that was shoved into his own body. And now it's halfway across the world, being used by freedom fighters in a Soviet breakup state. Great. Add that to the list of things that keep recycling, no matter how many times Leon puts a bullet in them. The rebels are using the Plagas to control lickers, weaponizing them against government forces. It's effective. It's also a death sentence. The parasites don't stay cooperative forever. Leon watches Buddy's comrades lose control, transforming into savage, mindless creatures as the infection overwhelms them. One by one, the people Buddy fought alongside become the very monsters they were trying to use as weapons. And then Buddy tries to kill himself. This is the moment that defines the entire mission. His friends are dead or turned. The cause he believed in has been hijacked by forces larger than any of them. The parasite is still attached to his spinal cord, and he knows what's coming, so he decides to end it on his own terms. Leon won't let him. In what might be his most compassionate act across any mission, Leon refuses to let Buddy die. Instead of mercy killing him, instead of walking away, Leon shoots the Plaga directly off Buddy's spinal cord. It's a precision shot that saves the man's life but costs him the use of his legs. No special equipment, no radiation device like he had in Spain, just a gun, steady hands, and a stubborn refusal to accept that this is how it ends for someone who was just trying to fight for his home. But saving one man doesn't save the situation. Not even close. The conflict's resolution reveals that President Svetlana Belikova had been orchestrating the use of bioweapons the entire time, deploying lickers and plagas against the very rebels she publicly condemned as terrorists. She used the secessionist movement as political cover for her own weapons development. A joint US and Russian military intervention swoops in, forces her out of power, and the whole rotten structure collapses. Cool. That's also a thing that happened. And the United States, Leon's employer, they weren't exactly innocent bystanders. His own government swooped in at the politically convenient moment, leveraged the crisis for their own geopolitical interests, and called it peacekeeping. Every side was playing an angle. He was sent to verify bioweapons usage in a conflict where the answer was always going to be yes, and the follow-up was always going to serve the people at the top. This is the mission that breaks something in Leon, not his body. His belief that any of this matters. He can save Buddy. He can fight lickers. He can survive another nightmare. But the system he serves doesn't care about any of that. The governmental machinery keeps grinding forward according to its own logic, one that has nothing to do with protecting people and everything to do with power, leverage, and plausible deniability. Leon's personal heroism is real. It's also completely irrelevant to the people making decisions above him. By the time he walks away from the Eastern Slav Republic, Leon is visibly different, more tired, scared, more cynical. He's starting to ask a question that has no good answer. How many more countries? How many more parasites? How many more governments lying to their own agents before someone admits that the system itself is the infection? Nobody answers him. Nobody ever does. But if you think that existential crisis slows him down, wait until the President of the United States gets turned into a zombie right in front of him. Resident Evil 6. For 15 years, Leon Kennedy carried a secret that the United States government refused to acknowledge. The truth about Raccoon City, about Umbrella, about everything the government knew and did nothing to stop. And in June 2013, someone was finally going to say it out loud. President Adam Benford, Leon's friend and superior officer, arrived at Ivy University in Tall Oaks with one purpose: to publicly reveal classified information about U.S. involvement in the Raccoon City destruction incident. This was the moment Leon had been waiting for since 1998. 15 years of silence, 15 years of cover-ups, 15 years of watching the government pretend it had clean hands, and the President of the United States was about to blow the whole thing open. He never got the chance. Bioterrorists deployed a Lopatica, a grotesque sea virus creature, into the university's ventilation system. The virus spread through the air ducts like a fog. Students, staff, Secret Service agents, everyone in that building started turning, and by the time Leon arrived, President Benford was already gone, not dead, zombified. Leon found the President of the United States hunched over a body, feeding on it. Let that sink in for a second. The one person willing to tell the truth about Raccoon City got turned into the exact thing Raccoon City created, and Leon had to pull the trigger on his own friend. Not a stranger, not a hostile target, a man he trusted, respected, and genuinely believed was going to change everything. Gone, just like that. But here's where it gets so much worse. The assassination wasn't some random act of bioterrorism. It was orchestrated by Derek C. Simmons, the National Security Advisor. Simmons ran a secret society called The Family, and their entire purpose was maintaining American hegemony through information control. When Benford announced he was going to reveal the Raccoon City cover-up, Simmons decided the president had to die. Not removed from office, not discredited, killed, along with everyone around him, using the very biological weapons the government had been hiding. The conspiracy wasn't attacking the government. The conspiracy was the government. Leon's partner for this nightmare was Helena Harper, a Secret Service agent who had been coerced into helping Simmons execute the assassination. Simmons had kidnapped Helena's younger sister Deborah and used her as leverage, threatening to kill her unless Helena cooperated. So Helena helped facilitate the murder of the president to save her sister. Leon learned all of this and made a choice that says everything about where his head was at this point in his life. He didn't arrest her, he didn't turn her in, he looked at a woman who had been manipulated by the same corrupt system he served and said, essentially, yeah, I get it. Let's go kill the guy who did this. Pragmatism over protocol. Because what's the point of following the rules when the rules are written by people like Simmons? The Tall Oaks outbreak alone generated approximately 77,000 civilian deaths. 77,000 people. That's not a city block. That's not a building. That's a small city's worth of human beings dead because one man decided the truth was too dangerous to let out. And Leon was standing in the middle of it, again, watching people die in numbers he couldn't process, unable to stop any of it. Leon and Helena pursued Simmons to China because apparently one country's worth of horror wasn't enough. Mid-flight, they discovered the plane's pilot had been replaced by a cocoon containing another Lopatica organism. So even 30,000 feet in the air, there was no escape. The conspiracy had planned for everything. The final confrontation with Simmons was less of a boss fight and more of an endurance test. Simmons injected himself with an enhanced chrysalid virus variant and mutated through forms that would make Birkin blush. Quadrupedal canine creatures, a dinosaur-like monstrosity roughly the size of a building, and finally, a scorpion-like abomination that looked like someone asked a nightmare to design a final exam. Leon killed every single one of them, but here's the thing, the victory felt hollow. Leon emerged from Resident Evil 6 as a fundamentally different person than the cocky agent who cracked jokes in Spain. The fatigue was visible, the cynicism was audible. He started openly questioning whether any of this mattered, whether serving a government that murdered its own president to protect a lie was worth the cost, whether 15 years of fighting bioterrorism had accomplished anything beyond keeping a corrupt system running for one more day. This wasn't a hero celebrating a win. This was a man staring into the void and wondering if the void had been staring back the entire time. Every mission, every outbreak, every impossible fight, and the system that created all of it was still standing, still lying, still killing to protect those lies. And somehow, the world still needed him, because a few years later, an old wound from Raccoon City would resurface in the last place anyone expected: Resident Evil: Death Island. 17 years after Raccoon City, Leon Kennedy gets a call from his handler Ingrid Hunnigan with what sounds like a straightforward job: track down Dr. Antonio Taylor, a DARPA researcher selling classified information in San Francisco. Simple enough. Find the guy, bring him in, maybe grab some sourdough on the way home. But then Taylor gets kidnapped by unknown assailants, and suddenly, Leon's clean little mission spirals into something much bigger, because he's not the only one in San Francisco chasing ghosts. Jill Valentine is dealing with a fresh zombie outbreak. Claire Redfield is investigating a monstrous fish killing whales in the bay. And all three of these completely separate investigations point to the exact same place: Alcatraz Island. Here's where it gets complicated. A former mercenary named Dylan Blake and his partner Maria Gomez have taken over Agua Industries and turned the island into a bioweapons factory. Their weapon of choice is genuinely creative in the worst possible way: a non-transmissible T-virus strain delivered through experimental mosquito drones enhanced with military-grade robotics. Tiny little robot mosquitoes carrying a zombie virus. Somebody pitched that in a meeting and everyone just nodded. Cool. That's also a thing that happened. But the real gut punch isn't the technology. It's Dylan Blake himself. Dylan is a Raccoon City survivor. He was there in 1998, just like Leon. During the evacuation, he was forced to kill his infected friend JJ with his own hands. Same nightmare, same impossible choices, same city burning around him. The difference is what happened after. Where Leon bent under the weight of that trauma, Dylan broke. The experience radicalized him completely. He decided the world was beyond saving through conventional means, and that the only solution was to reset society through bioweapon deployment. Dylan Blake is what Leon could have become. Same origin story, same defining trauma, completely opposite conclusion. Leon channeled his pain into protecting people. Dylan channeled his into punishing them. That's not a villain, that's a mirror. Maria Gomez has her own motivations. Her father Diego was killed as a direct result of the original Raccoon City incident, and she wants revenge. Her presence creates a causality line stretching all the way back to 1998. 17 years later, and the wounds from that night are still producing new monsters. Not biological ones, human ones. Dylan captures Leon, Chris, and the others. His plan is specific and cruel. Infect them all with the mosquito drones while forcing Jill to watch her friends die. He wants to recreate his own trauma. He watched his team die in Raccoon City, helpless to stop it, and now he wants Jill to feel exactly what he felt. It's not random evil. It's pain looking for company. But Leon Kennedy has been doing this for 17 years, and he's not dying on Alcatraz. Leon kills Maria after a brutal confrontation, and then something happens that the franchise had been building toward for over 2 decades. Leon, Chris, Jill, Claire, and Rebecca Chambers all fight together against Dylan after he merges with a bioorganic weapon. The full roster. Every surviving veteran of the original Nightmare standing shoulder to shoulder against a threat born from the same event that defined all of them. This is the Resident Evil Avengers moment, and after everything these characters have been through individually, it feels earned. Leon delivers the killing blow. Dylan Blake, the Dark Mirror, the road not taken, goes down, and afterward, the surviving heroes stand together waiting for BSAA rescue helicopters. Chris praises Jill's heroism. Nobody gives a speech. Nobody pretends it's over. They just exist in the moment, a group of people who understand what this life costs because they've been paying it since 1998, and that's Leon Kennedy's arc, start to finish. He showed up to his first day of work hungover, alone, and completely terrified. 17 years later, he's surrounded by people who fought the same war and carry the same scars. He went from a rookie who couldn't process what he was seeing to a legendary agent who's seen everything and still chooses to keep going. That's not just tactical growth, that's one of gaming's most complete character evolutions. But here's the thing nobody talks about. Leon's story isn't really a hero's journey, it's a survival story. Every mission broke him a little more. Every government he served betrayed him in some way. Every victory was temporary because the systems that created bioweapons kept running long after the individual bad guys were dead. He never solved the problem. He just kept showing up, and maybe that's the point. Maybe the answer to whether individual heroism can fix systemic corruption is no. But Leon Kennedy kept fighting anyway. Not because he believed he could fix everything, because he couldn't live with himself if he stopped trying. That's not a power fantasy. That's something real. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now,